Welcome to the After Work Hangout, the podcast where you'll hear why and how everyday people shifted their careers to meet their personal needs. I'm your host, Crystal Lee. As a career coach of over 10 years, I love to engage in real talk about work and life. In Season 1, we'll chat honestly about work and money. You might be surprised by the underlying factors that have led to different career and financial decisions. So listen, get inspired, and make the moves that are right for you. Welcome, Meena. Welcome to the After Work Hangout.
Thank you so much for having me, Crystal. You know, I can hang out with you after work, before work.
Same, likewise. I'm so excited for folks to hear from you today because you're one of the most intentional people I know. And let me just do a quick introduction about what you do. And we're going to learn a lot more about your career journey and how you got there. So Meena Das is the CEO of Namaste Data, a consulting firm that helps nonprofits advance human-centric data and AI equity. Artificial intelligence is definitely something that's more recent. So I'm super curious to hear, what did you do before starting this business and how did that lead you to what you do now?
Well, I have always been in the tech space. I have worked for 17 years. Yes, 17, I think. It's been quite a bit of time since I've started, being in the tech space. So I grew up in India. This is my story. This is how it goes. I grew up in India, beautiful country. I did my first master's program back in the country in computer applications and data science. And I continued, I started working in the tech back then. And I also had my own school for teaching kids of underprivileged communities. And at some point I realized I wanted to expand my school and move out of tech companies. And I realized that I do not know enough or earn enough to be able to do that by myself. So I realized, okay, why not I try something different? And why don't I come outside India into a different country and learn more, earn more, take it back. So I moved to States about 8 years ago. And of those 8 years, for the last 4, I have been living in Canada. I was still in the tech for the last, I would say my business is 4 years old, but before that I have been in the tech for a very, very long time. So everything you read on my website, data and the words artificial intelligence, I have worked in those spaces, but in different ways. When pandemic hit about 4 years ago, I started to question how I work and how my values show up in my work, because all throughout my 17, I would say by that point, maybe 10, 12 years of work, I used to do what I was told. If I have to design a dashboard, I am asked to design a dashboard, use 2 + 2 = 4, and design a few metrics or explain something to the leadership team about the things you are doing with data. I think at some point I started to question during the pandemic, how am I living my values? How are my lived and learned experiences aligned in what I do with data and what I do with tech? And I couldn't find the right answers. I'm not going to say perfect answers, but I couldn't find the right answers. That bothered me, and I left my jobs and just started my consulting practice. What I do today, the website you saw, Namaste Data. I picked a name to represent 2 parts of my identity. One, cultural, coming from India, Namaste, and data that I spent so many years. I love to do, I love to talk about, think about. And I picked a name combining the two, trying to figure out the question, truly how and what does it mean to be showing up in data, what you have learned and who you are. How do you align the who and the what? So that is how I kept doing what I do.
That's beautiful. And like I said, so intentional. I love that about you. And when we met, it was in a very values-driven setting because you were volunteering for a program that I was coordinating. And so that's really how I know you and who I see you as. And it's such a core part to how you carry yourself. So that's why I was really excited to invite you on to chat about living in that way sometimes means saying no to opportunities or, in different situations and setting boundaries. So I'd love to dig into that maybe a little bit more. Have there been times, whether it's previous to your business or now during your business, you've had to say no because it didn't align with your values? Is there any incident that stands out?
I'll be honest, saying no is a really important, but really hard. Like, it's really hard to say no in this world. We live at a time when, and especially as a, women of color, immigrants, finding opportunities to shine is hard. It's difficult. You form your own path, and then to say no to something comes with this added extra step of evaluating why are you saying no, and why should you say no? I worked in a lot of amazing jobs, for example, before starting my business. And while all of those jobs did pay me and I had great team members, I still felt like there was a portion of me that was not showing up exactly who I am. Like, I had to do some sort of code switching or some sort of coding into me to fit in more, to do more, to learn more. There was always this extra gap of I have to do more to fit into this place. And I think doing that for a long time causes you to realize that, well, do I really have the power to say no? So before I even get to examples of if I have said no, I want to acknowledge that it is a hard thing to understand when should you be saying no, or do you even have the power to say no or not? And I would say my business, in my business as the CEO of Namaste Data, it's been about 4 years. Just started my 4th year of the business, and I would say it took me a year and a half to realize that I do have the power to say no. It doesn't come from a place of saying no for saying no for the sake of saying no, like, I don't do it as a means of disrespect, but more as a way of honoring who you are. And yes, I have, to your question, said no to opportunities that doesn't feel aligned right to me, that doesn't sit well with me, but it didn't happen overnight. It came with acknowledging that it's hard. It came with acknowledging that I'm conditioned and accustomed to places where I did not know that this could be a tool, that a no is a word that I could use in the workplace. And 3, I would say it came from a place of knowing yourself better and better. The better you know yourself, the more inward you look, the better you know who you are, and that helps you to identify when you should say no. So yes, I have said no to opportunities, but it has come after a lot of practice and a lot of intentional questioning yourself. But I'm glad I did. It was important when I did.
That's beautiful. You've laid it out so clearly, but I also hear like that's knowing yourself. It does take time, especially when we're just like conditioned in an environment. We just move through it like fish aren't able to see the water around them, that metaphor. And in a way, it's also questioning the systems and structures that we're working within. Like you said, if you were as an employee in a certain work culture, maybe there's hierarchies, there's unspoken rules, right? Like to step back and be able to see it for what it is, that can be so challenging. So were there ways that helped you? Like how did you start seeing the water that you were swimming in?
I would say this is something which the answers are going to be different from person to person, listener to listener to this episode. For me, the only way I realized I can best respond to these kind of inevitable situations in the business is the better I would know myself. I'm the kind of person for whom external conversations, external books, podcast episodes, and any kind of webinars, they're all supportive and helpful and do contribute to my continuous learning. But I also love to do a self-reflection process. So I designed a self-reflection process for myself. I made myself go through a full life coaching certification program so I can design those tools that enables me to explore who I am and am becoming, because we are not one done and final product. We are evolving, we are changing with time and with circumstances of our life and the environments we are living in. And I wanted to be mindful of all those in the kind of situations, in the kind of questions I want to solve in my self-reflection. So I took all that and designed my own self-reflection process, and I make myself go through self-reflection at least every season once. Every season, I would say, so summer, I would plan a day to do my self-retreat, and in the year end, I would do one. And I would say doing them more intentionally, more repeatedly for the last 3 years has definitely helped me, one, to figure out, if not in the perfect way, but a little bit, who am I? And that, again, helps me to say no when I need to say no, say yes when I need to say yes. And two, it also helps me, what kind of questions should I be asking myself as I am learning to know who Meena is today. And so I think self-reflections are, I would say, is my go-to way to explore who I am.
That's amazing that you even went to coaching school to learn these skills and develop your own system. Like, you really go above and beyond.
I really wanted to trust someone else to teach me how they do, in a way, like trust someone else's process, and the school truly helped me.
Mm-hmm. So let's get into maybe some practical applications of saying no. Like, how do you go about it? Like you said, it's not doing it in a mean way, right? Like, it's doing it from a place of self-knowing. So are there certain phrases that you use, or do you find it's better like over the phone, or if it's through email? Like, do you have any practical strategies that you would be able to share?
For sure. And I would say the practical strategies, even for me, they have changed over the years. Like I said, this is my 4th year. In my year 2, I realized, okay, this is an opportunity that does not align with me. I reacted to it and said no in a different way. Year 3, I said it in a different way. I'm pretty sure going forward, I'll find my ways that feels true to me in this moment of time. So while I am giving my practical strategies, but please do know that they work for me and as I was evolving over time. So I would say some of the practical things is definitely step 1 is acknowledge your discomfort. Like, that is absolutely step 1. We give and pour a lot, whether you are, in the early stages of an opportunity, whether it's a job you're working on or a new contract or a new client, we pour a lot of our energies into it. And so when we find finally that this is not aligning with who I am, there's a bit of discomfort. And before just jumping on and concluding it and wrapping it up, let's first acknowledge that it can be uncomfortable, really uncomfortable. Because the more I realize, the more I can acknowledge that discomfort, the better language I can find to communicate in that conversation. So I really create a space where if I see something which is not resonating, obviously my immediate reaction is, oh, I am angry. Why is this not aligning? Or, oh, I am so sad. Or, oh, this is not a great day. I have a practice of taking a few hours away, walking away from my laptop. I go for a walk, or I would take that day off. I love ice cream. I would get some ice cream for myself and get to a frame of mind which is not from a place of deficit or lack, but get to a place of in your mindset which is about your strengths. So the immediate reaction is, if it's anger, I'm stepping away from my computer to get to a place where my mindset feels strong enough again to respond and react. So next day, I come back in front of my computer, I open that same email, and I see that email sitting in, but now I'm at a different mindset, which is not the first reaction. And depending on the relationship with this person, now this is a person with whom I have had a lot of conversations in the past, I would rather prefer to do it over the phone and have that difficult conversation face to face. If this is a new person, or if this is a relationship, again, that's upon our own judgments, individual judgments. If this is a relationship that feels fine to talk with over the email, that's all right too. And I have done both. I have said no over the email. I've said no over the phone conversations. Mm-hmm. Neither makes it easy. I wouldn't say doing it over phone makes it easy compared to email. It really comes down to where you feel best of yourself in your communication. So when you're doing it with email, I would say this is something that is not working out, or this is something where I feel is different than the values with which I intentionally choose to operate every day. And this is why I have to say no or change a scope or come back with a question. The key to remember about saying no, which I do a lot, is you're not trying to become a bad person and say, I'm burning bridges, I don't want to see your face, I don't want to talk to you ever again. You are really being mindful while placing your own values on the table, that this is who you are. you want to keep this communication to them saying, is there anything else I can do about this? Do you want to do anything else about this? Is there an alternative path we both can take where we can get to a different outcome? Find the common goals where both of you are, interested in, and you don't have to take this exact same path where you are not meeting your values, but if there's something else that you can do. Because one of the things that I do want to do is, and this is something, Crystal, I mean, you and I have had a lot of conversations. We are empaths. We live in a world where we are going to meet and find a lot of people with whom we are not always seeing eye to eye in the same set of values, with the same set of operations. Doesn't mean that we always have to burn bridges and never have to see their faces again. The question is, how do we sit next to each other with opposing thoughts, but still talk to each other in a mindful, respectful way? So I pick up a pattern of saying no, where I'm saying no, but I'm also opening up the dialogue if we can meet for the common goals and common interests through a path that allows us both to be who we are. And same goes for the phone conversation.
Totally. And I feel like we need so much more of that in the world when everything's getting so polarized and everyone's just feeling more comfortable chatting with folks who share their beliefs, right? But when we develop the skills to have a solid sense of self, but also meet others and listen to other perspectives, how beautiful that and how powerful that could be. And also, like, I'm hearing you say, like, when you say no, it's no to a very specific thing. It's not like a general no. It's like the way this proposal is, structured, or the compensation structure, or like the ask, like this is where it doesn't quite feel right. Knowing that and putting that on the table, how can we move forward together? So it's not like blanket no, it's like a no to a certain thing.
But I do want to add, there are situations when you do feel this is a super blanket no, like this institution or this person has created harm in such a strong way that you feel like there is no way. I'm not that you want to be disrespectful to this entity, but you don't want to be in the same space as much. And so
fair.
I'm teaching my body to learn to recognize when it is okay to keep the dialogue open and keep the conversation going for the sake of being that, we are not saying a hard no, a complete no, a blanket no. But then I have been in institutions or places where someone has said or done something so opposing to my personal values that I do not want to engage in that space so much to give away all of my energy. And so I do have a little post-it note on my table that's been for the last 4 years. It's a ban list. I have a ban list. So these are the organizations.
Okay. And this is part of you knowing yourself and you doing those seasonal check-ins, and you can update that ban list.
Absolutely. I have gone back to one of the organizations in that ban list in the last year because they changed their leadership and how they were showing up. And so I was open to working with them again. But many of those organizations are still the same on that list of 7 organizations who still do not value that justice lens, that equity lens, that inclusion lens. And as much as it is fine for them to operate the way they want to, I want to build a company where I am living my values and I'm working with collaborators who are living their values. So I choose them to be on that list.
And I think what you're describing, I know in this context you run your own business, but in the context of job seekers, there may be organizations that it's a hard no for you. You're not going to try and apply for a job there. And you can then open up more energy to focus on the ones that really do align.
I would say this is where the self-reflection part truly helps, and not just doing a self-reflection once over the year end. It's like self-reflection. Let me take a step back. Self-reflection is like cleaning your home. You don't clean your home just once for 2 hours in December, right before Christmas. You clean your home throughout the year, every now and then, whenever you get a chance, so that there's a space. Not doing self-reflection is like letting a lot of unprocessed feelings in your body to react in any way, and then you give an hour in the year end. That is not enough. Because of those self-reflections, you get to understand that what if one of those companies you don't want to work for comes back and gives you a job for 300K, an amazing 300K, a very big amount. Should we take that or should we not take that? There's this component of the power and privilege this job can give you, but it's from a company with whom your values do not align. Are you saying yes or no in that case? And doing that self-reflection and cleaning up your home or heart in this case allows you to pick up an option which works best for you, more from a place of intention as opposed to from a place of habit.
Right. Yeah. I love what you're saying, that everyone will have a different answer, and really you just need to make the decision that works for you.
Yeah.
And also back to the cleaning the home analogy, as you said that, I see my room and how messy it is. I'm like, oh no, I have not been cleaning my space. But there is also, if you have not yet been cleaning your space, you can start.
Absolutely.
And yes, you can always start. I also would love to bring up kind of touch on the example around balancing money into like those decisions that you make, because this season we're chatting about work and money on the After Work Hangout. So for you, how do you prepare yourself or set yourself up financially so that, you can say no? Because sometimes like it can be really challenging. So how does that factor in to the cleaning the home metaphor? Like, is there something that's also done on the financial side?
I believe we live in a world where earning more is glorified. The more the number of contracts, the more the number of salary, or the more the amount of the salary, the more the number of promotions over the years. That is a glorified version of success, and that's a template that is given to everybody. If you haven't got a promotion in the last X number of years, you are not growing. If you haven't had so many contracts or so much revenue, your business is not growing. And I do not appreciate that template. I wanted to create a business which can throw out that template altogether out of the window and create something of my own. The problem with cleaning your home analogy is that we don't understand that not everybody's home is going to look exactly the same clean way. Someone's cleanliness may be just putting the things in the right place. Someone else's cleanliness might be taking a whole, a piece of cloth and a solution and scrubbing everything every day and doing a very deep cleaning. It really depends on what your version is. The same concept applies to the idea of success and growth. What is your version of success and growth? Before we get to the part of I need to earn more, I need to have more revenue, I need to have more clients, I need to know what is that successful version of me and my business can look like, should look like. What gives my gut a comfortable feeling to know that this is what success for me is. So in my process of self-reflection, one of the initial questions for me is, what does your success feel like? Not look like, feel like to you right now in this moment. And fully knowing and acknowledging that your answer can change in 5 years or 2 years from now. Your success version could be different. So in this moment, what is it? Once you understand what your success should and could look like for you, you try to place your opportunities that contribute to that success, measure or definition or criteria, whatever you want to call it. And for me, never have been those to add more and more contracts or clients or revenue. My success criteria are pretty simple, and one of them is I need to be able to buy my food, I need to be able to pay my rent and mortgage, I need to be able to support my family and care for my parents as in the way I need to. And as long as I can do all of those, wherever I am, that version is perfect for me. I don't need to have this X dollar of amount, and if that hasn't happened, then I am probably doing something wrong. So I would rather start there. That is what keeps me grounded. If tomorrow suddenly one of these companies from my ban list who haven't changed the way they approach and operate with people's inclusion and equity, and they come back saying, we want to give you a contract for $500K, which is a very big amount for my business or my salary, to be honest, I don't want it. I am comfortable saying no because I have gone back to my version of success definition again and again and again over the last 3 years, every season. So I keep coming back to self-reflection, but it's like cleaning your house. You need to do that to be able to make space for something good.
Yeah, so important. I feel like you started touching on it, but I would love to ask, how do you recharge outside of work? Because you have to make a lot of decisions when you run your own business. Like, how do you recharge?
Well, it sort of... Okay, this is one of the questions of my self-reflection that I want to offer. I do ask myself, what gives you joy? What makes you feel joy? Not just gives joy, but what makes you feel joy? In your gut, in your hands, in your brain, in your neck? And a lot of things came up in my answer when I tried to solve that question in my last self-reflection. Like going to the library came up, trying new coffee came up, baking came up, talking to my friends came up. There's a bunch of things. And I created that list. That list is my joy list. And I don't have to pick the perfect answer. I can make a combo of it. If it's a really hard day, one of the things in there is I like to watch old movies. So I can go back and watch that to recharge myself. If I have like a semi-okay day and I need another kind of a self-care, I can go back to that list and I can pick talking to my friends. So I would say I don't have a perfect answer of how I recharge myself, but I do like to create a list of all the things that gives me joy and pick up things out of that feels true today in this moment and try that.
Mm-hmm. I feel like you gave an amazing answer. Create your joy list, everyone. And it's going to look different between person to person. And along with that, focusing on how you want to feel, whether that means what you want your job to bring you or what you want your money to bring you. At the end of the day, it's not so much about the stuff. It's how do you want to feel?
Absolutely. I would say, and since I want to leave more because there are a lot more people who are applying for jobs. Crystal, I know you're creating this amazing program as well. I used to earn a lot more in my jobs than in my business. And I want to say this with all honesty and vulnerability. But I am doing much, much better mental health-wise and emotional health-wise, because this feels more true to me as how it's helping me to become who I am. So when you are evaluating your jobs and whether or not you want to make an opportunity part of your life or not, don't just consider the wealth part of it, the financial part of it. Consider how do you want to be treated in your job? Who do you want to work with? What kind of people do you want to be surrounded with? What kind of environment do you want to grow in? Think all those questions, and not just that how much money you can be given or how many perks can it include. There is nothing wrong. I also want to say there's nothing wrong to consider the financial component. It is important, but it is not the only criteria to evaluate. So expand that criteria, and I'm pretty sure we all will learn how to say no to opportunities that do not align.
Thank you so much, Meena, for sharing your wisdom today. Really appreciate you. And can you share how folks can learn more about you or get in touch if they're curious about your work?
Absolutely. If you want to reach out to me, you can reach out via my email. It is meenadas at namastedata.org. MEENA at NAMASTEDADA.org. Or you can reach out via my website as well, which is Namaste Data.
Awesome. And I'll also have these links as well in my summary blog post. So thank you again, Meena. Appreciate you so much. I hope you'll find lots of joy today and the rest of the week and days ahead.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks for listening to the After Work Hangout. If you enjoy honest conversations about career decisions and life choices, remember to subscribe to the After Work Hangout so you'll know when our next episode drops. And don't forget to leave a 5-star rating while you're at it. You can find a summary of this episode along with more information about our guests and resources that were mentioned at relocal.ca. That's RELOCAL.ca. If you take a look around the website, you'll also find blog posts, downloads, and community offerings to support your career development. I'm your host, Crystal Lee, and I'm always interested in hearing what topics you'd like to learn about. You can connect with me on Instagram at relocal.ca, or you can email me at crystal@relocal.ca. Finally, I want to say a big thank you to all the guests and supporters who make this podcast possible. This includes my podcast manager, Lindsay Curtis, and graphic designer, Alex Dewar, who created the podcast art. Thanks again for listening and sticking around. I hope you're more inspired and ready to make the moves that are right for you. See you at the next Hangout.